Hello. I'm about to do my Wrestling Observer review. I am wearing my Hannibal 420 hoodie that you can get on my merchandise page, which you can find at thehannibaltv.com. Just finished a run because the gyms are closed here in Ontario till the end of July. We're stuck in the dark ages here. So I'm going to get into the news. The Wrestling Observer came out. There's a good amount of news this week, so I'm going to jump right into it. I've already discussed this at length, and Shane Douglas also talked to me about this week. You guys can look up Shane talking about it on this channel. He had an interesting perspective, but Dave Meltzer reports that Braun Strowman, Lana, Aleister Black, Santana Garrett, Murphy, and Ruby Riott have all been cut by WWE. They've been cut from the WWE family. The budget cuts seem to be a way to increase profits while getting rid of talent Vince McMahon has decided he doesn't want to use any longer. All 6 of these talents, according to Meltzer, will have no compete clauses until August 31st, so they'll be getting paid through August, and they won't be able to wrestle anywhere else until after then, although Strowman has said that he doesn't want to wrestle anywhere else. The kind of money he was making, well into the millions, I doubt any other company would pay him, particularly since the only company that really pays at that level is AEW, and they already know WWE doesn't want him. So he'll probably live off of the money he's made for a while, and who knows what's going to happen. I have to say, though, the match between him and the boxer from the Saudi Arabia show, Tyson Fury, was one of the worst matches I ever saw in my life. And I'm sure he was paid a huge Saudi Arabia bonus for that one, too. He probably lived for many, many years just off of what he was paid for that Tyson Fury match. And, of course, Strowman was signed right to a development contract, so he never had been on the independent scene. So I don't think he'd want to go back to the indie scene where you never know if you're getting paid or not. There's a lot of shady promoters, and you never know how good your opponent is that you're going to be wrestling, and if the promotion's even going to cover it if you get injured. Lana was also released. Meltzer says this, and I've never actually seen her wrestle, but he says she's never been a good wrestler. But because of her look, they tried on several occasions to make her a superstar and then usually gave up. I do remember the thing where her and Lashley were making out over her real-life husband, who everyone expects she's going to join her husband over in AEW. As far as with the company making record profits, their biggest profit year ever last year, they're making all these cuts. There's rumors of the company that might be sold. While WWE has denied a sale is imminent, Meltzer brings up that the UFC also denied this to not only their employees but others when they were already in the process of selling. That was when the first Tito brothers sold it. So anything's possible. It's very likely if they would sell, that Vince McMahon would still remain on in some capacity, probably as an employee or as management, because everyone says you never sell. But the fact of the matter is the current product is not popular. I'm a wrestling fan, and out of all those people that were just cut, I know Braun Strowman and Lana out of the 6. It just doesn't interest me to even look up who those other ones are. because the product is so boring. So as the years go by, that will catch up with them, but they do have a huge library of old footage, and they still have the WWE brand, whatever that's worth. Of course, they are going back to live events. SmackDown July 16th at the Toyota Center in Houston is sold out. Even though UFC had 17,000 or so as a sellout, with the setup WWE has, it's sold out with 10,500. So I guess they don't want to open any more than that. Money in the Bank on July 18th at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth only has 429 tickets left. So if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you better hurry. 429 tickets left. And for anyone that doesn't know what Dickies is, it's like a barbecue place, and I was not impressed with it at all. When I went there, I had the brisket, and it was not good. Too much sauce and dry. The July 19th Raw in Dallas only has 6,700 tickets sold, which is still a good amount. It's appearing that even though there was a year and a half break with the lockdown, ticket sales are very similar to what they were pre-pandemic, which I guess is a good sign. They've also announced SmackDown is going to be taped July 23rd in Cleveland, July 30th in Minneapolis, August 6th in Tampa, August 13th in Tulsa, August 20th in Phoenix, a town that I love, August 27th in North Little Rock, Arkansas, September the 3rd in Jacksonville, Florida. Raw is going to be recorded in front of a live audience July 26th in Kansas City, August 2nd in Chicago, August 9th in Orlando, August 16th in San Antonio, where I'm supposed to be visiting in September to cover an event there that supposedly the Texas champion, the Blood Hunter, is going to be on with his manager, Blaze. August 23rd, Raw will be in San Diego. August 30th, Oklahoma City. And I was in Oklahoma recently picking up something for none other than Mr. Teddy Long, who the following week got rid of me. That's what I get for doing him a favor. And September 6th in Miami. They're also coming back with house shows, but the house shows are going to be dual branded. I'm surprised that they're already going to start back with house shows, because for a while there was rumors. Well, it doesn't look like they're going to go crazy with it, but still. July 24th in Pittsburgh, July 25th in Louisville, July 31st in Milwaukee, August 1st in Detroit, August 7th in Fort Myers, August 8th in Gainesville, Florida, August 14th in Charlotte, August 15th in Columbia, South Carolina, and August 22nd in Denver. I'm surprised that they would hit Detroit with a house show before a television taping, because you would think that they'd want to get like the crowd of hungry wrestling fans from Detroit, which used to be a big wrestling city, to come to a TV taping first rather than a house show, but whatever. Mark Henry, who I've had a little bit of experience with this year. I like him. He has never been a full-time announcer, so it's impossible to say how he'll do until he does it. But apparently he's signed to AEW now. Meltzer reports that Henry's WWE contract expired about 6 months ago, and the company quietly decided not to renew him. So he approached Tony Khan with the idea of working there, and Vince McMahon did not offer him a counter offer when he told them that he was talking to AEW, according to Meltzer. I find it funny that, according to this, he hasn't been working for WWE for 6 months, but he tried to start a rumor himself through Wrestling Inc. that he wanted to see some independent wrestling company have some sort of working relationship with WWE, and like it got a bunch of buzz, and that company was sharing stuff around. And I just think it's funny that Henry was not even working for WWE at that time, so it was truly just a rumor. Now, I did do a review of the Dark Side of the Ring Ultimate Warrior, which, as I said, there's some rare stuff in there shown that the Ultimate Warrior fans will like. But I like the Dark Side of the Ring, and I'm a fan of the Ultimate Warrior. I liked it significantly less than the A&E. They both really glossed over his title reign and tried to make it insignificant. A fan pointed out to me that neither of them even mentioned his feud with The Undertaker when he was famously locked in the casket, which everyone remembers from the funeral parlor. That was crazy. They opened it up and he had clawed it all up. But Jake Roberts, there was one thing that really bothered me about this. And Meltzer points something else out here, but he had claimed that at the Hall of Fame, when the Ultimate Warrior was going to be inducted, he had a roll of quarters, and if Warrior hadn't apologized and made peace with him, he was going to hit Warrior with a roll of quarters. Now, why would he, first of all, ruin his WWE chances by doing that, of like working with him in the future, which they were always using him fairly regularly? Secondly, the Warrior was still in amazing shape right up until he died. Obviously, his heart gave out on him, but like he was training constantly, ripped and muscular. Jake Roberts smokes cigarettes. He has a history of drug abuse, and I know he doesn't work out other than yoga. It's like, you better knock the Warrior out with the first punch if you actually think you're going to do that. But Jake's a smart guy, and I do like Jake Roberts. I did a shoot interview with him, which is why I didn't get into this really in my Dark Side of the Ring review. But it was just so ridiculous that he said he was going to try and knock out the Warrior. It's like, that was foolish. And this also stood out to me, and I'll tell you my reasons why it stood out, but I'm going to tell you what Dave Meltzer wrote here about Roberts alleging that the Warrior ruined his chances of being in WWE. And I'll quote this, okay? This is from Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer this week. Quote, "The story Roberts said about Warrior being fired in 1991 and costing him his run at the title obviously isn't true, since Warrior had lost the title months earlier. Roberts was a babyface when Warrior was champion, so at no point were they going to work together. After Warrior lost the title, they did a series of vignettes, which did end with Roberts turning on Warrior, but Warrior was moved into a program teaming with Hogan against Sergeant Slaughter and Colonel Mustafa and General Adnan. Roberts was moved to a program with Randy Savage after the angle with Savage Elizabeth's wedding, which was hotter than a program with Warrior would have been had they gone back to that. But Warrior being fired didn't cost him a run at the title. And at the time, he was starting what was probably the most well-remembered feud of his career," end quote. I don't think that Roberts against Macho Man was Jake Roberts' most memorable feud. I'll tell you guys a story, and this is why the story, I didn't believe it. I didn't even look into it as detailed as Dave did here. But what stood out to me about Jake saying that they wanted to put the title on him was I attended 2 shows around this time in my hometown here, Ottawa, at the Ottawa Civic Center, where Jake the Snake wrestled Macho Man. One was in November 1991. It was the night after the Tuesday in Texas, and I already told the story. Everyone was shocked that Undertaker was champion on that because there was no internet in those days. And I just remember that's what stood out to me from that house show. But the main event was advertised as Mr. Madness against Jake Roberts because supposedly Macho Man was not reinstated yet. So he had to wrestle as the masked Mr. Madness against Jake Roberts. And this event, which was in, as I said, November of 1991, was by far the lowest attended WWF event I had ever attended up to that point. I remember it very well. I bought one of those Macho Man neon bandanas, which I still have. The same, I actually wore it when I did a Tough Enough promo that they actually put on SmackDown, and it had over 100,000 hits. But they didn't use me on that Tough Enough. They ended up using 2 guys that never even got out of development, even though I had a lot of momentum behind me. But anyways, I remember that. And then the other one, I do remember the date. It was February 9th, 1992. They had the rematch. This time he was reinstated. It was Macho Man against Jake the Snake. And I believe Bret Hart wrestled the Berserker on that one. And that was another really bad crowd. Really bad crowd. But it was better than the November one. And then the last good crowd I remember before the down period of WWE was actually in June of 92, which I mentioned this during my A&E documentary. It was June 2nd, 92, was the TV taping with the Ultimate Warrior, where the Ultimate Warrior, I believe, wrestled Papa Shango. And he did an interview with Mean Gene, and he had the ooze coming down his face. But that was, there had to have been 8,000 or 9,000 there for that. So my point is, remembering back to those house shows, the ones where Jake was in the main event had maybe 3,000 or 4,000 compared to Warriors house shows. Always had almost full crowds. And the last really packed crowd I remember that I saw at a house show before the Attitude Era was that Ultimate Warrior television taping in Ottawa. It was a Superstars taping. Anyways, I went down the rabbit hole there, but other than that, I said it in my review, but I don't know if it's because Jim Ross has lost his wife or what, but he's just so cranky all the time. I used to actually listen to his podcast up until like a year and a half or so ago. He's just so cranky. And maybe it's his memory because he's getting older, but he doesn't remember a lot of things. And I'm not even going to mention the other guy's name who just is obviously out to get the Ultimate Warrior. And then they had Ultimate Warrior's ex-wife. So they really want to go on the dark side, but they definitely have their biases with that company. As far as the New Japan talks with WWE, according to Dave Meltzer, Bryan Danielson was part of the early talks, although it hasn't been the case lately. According to this, New Japan would not agree to any deals, Meltzer says, unless they felt it would be extremely beneficial to them. Apparently, WWE has regularly tried to talk to them in the past, and it's got nowhere. However, this new president, Nick Khan, has never been involved in the talks before. And as we've seen, he seems to be a great deal maker. Now, I do have to say that I follow New Japan's YouTube analytics, and it's like on a nosedive. New Japan is definitely at an all-time popularity low. So it would benefit them to align themselves with WWE to get people at least knowing about them. Yeah, I know the smarks, and I have a lot of smart marks that watch my channel. I am a smart mark myself. But I don't like New Japan. It's too many small acrobatic guys these days, and I'm sorry, but I always liked promos and characters, and if they don't speak English well, it's harder for me to get into. And it seems like most of the American guys are small. It's not the Brodies anymore, and the Hansons and the Road Warriors coming in there and kicking ass. Harley Races, Terry and Dory Funk. Those days are long gone. They got leg slapping flippy guys now as the Americans. And as I said, I'm not a gymnastics fan. God bless you if you are. NXT is going to start running house shows in Florida in July. Molly Holly, who I've met a few times and was very nice, got a tryout at Raw for a potential job as a producer. Raw did a 0.43 rating this week, the second lowest rating of all time. Their lowest was in December 2020, 0.41. SmackDown did a 0.5 this week, and it was record low Fox viewership. AEW did a record low 0.2 this week for Dynamite. NXT did a 0.13. Somebody even wrote today on the video I did yesterday about, is WWE going to sell? The rumor about that. It's got a lot of views. It has something like 6,000 views for just me talking about the rumor. But somebody commented, Vince just needs to retire to let Triple H take over and save the company. It's like, NXT is getting 0.13 ratings. Triple H oversees that. Do you really think this guy is going to be the savior of WWE? And I don't know. I don't have much. He's a great politician. I'll give Triple H that. Probably the greatest politician of all time. A lot of people mentioned, hey, why did they keep Kevin Owens and fire Braun? Because Kevin Owens makes more than Braun. And he looks like shit. Well, Kevin Owens is another great politician. In my experience, his most talent is at being a politician and being the type of backstabbing snake that will be sticking around for a long time. Despite being very regularly, as he was on that SmackDown that got the lowest viewership ever on Fox, that more often than not, he's on these record low shows and in featured matches, and he's not a guy that when you're flipping through the channels you're going to stop if you're not a fan. I'm sorry. I hate to break this news to you guys, but your average sports fan is not going to be like, oh, there's a fat guy in T-shirts and basketball shorts slapping his thigh. I better stop and watch this. It's just not going to happen. In AEW news, Double or Nothing drew 5,200 fans, which was about 3,000 shy of a sellout according to this. And there was 4,700 paid and a $300,000 gate. So there was a good amount of comps. Somebody do the math and write it in the comments. 5,200 fans total, 4,700 paid. So about 500 comps. And Ksenia, sorry, the most popular Russian YouTuber who I like, she did actually a report from Double or Nothing after the event, live from Dali's place, if anyone wants to check that out. And she's going to do another one with me tonight after the Dynamite taping, since she's still chilling in the US. Apparently, Chris Jericho is no longer under contract to New Japan. And I will tell you guys something about Chris Jericho. I've been telling you, Rick Bassman keeps telling me he's going to get me the biggest interview ever, bigger than Kurt Angle, bigger than Rob Van Dam. And he did tell me that this week, it hasn't happened yet. He works for Cameo now. He had to talk to Jericho, something Cameo related, and he was going to ask Chris Jericho to do an interview with me. So any fans that want to see that, I would suggest you tweet to Chris Jericho that he should do an interview with me, because maybe that way, if Rick asks him, it might help encourage him. And I have nothing against him. I did like him best in WCW. I'd love to interview him. Awesome. Oh, and by the way, at one point in time, he had a little feud with Billy Graham, but he did make a significant donation to Billy Graham's GoFundMe, and they have since buried the hatchet. But you know what? Chris Jericho can now say that Billy Graham cut a promo on him, and it was a pretty damn good promo, I must say. You know, I had one of these the other day, and I left it in my pants, and I put it through the wash. And it ruined it. By the way, it's legal in Canada. THC. Awesome Kong, 42. I met her a couple times when I promoted TNA's first ever Canadian tour in 2007. And I remember she told me I was good, because I also wrestled on some of those events. But she's been released. Apparently she hasn't wrestled since January 1st, 2020. So it's been like a year and a half since she wrestled. And Shauna, 38, was also cut. I keep telling Lady Yasmin that she should not have quit professional wrestling. And for anyone that doesn't know who she is, she's Great North Wrestling's longest reigning women's champion of Canada. Right now, Lufisto, phenomenal wrestler. I would like to see her in AEW or Ring of Honor, because she seems to love Ring of Honor. But Lady Yasmin literally has millions and millions of hits on her matches. In 2019, at my recommendation, she did have not only a WWE tryout, but at two events, or at a Montreal event. But later that year, she was given a tryout the SummerSlam weekend in Toronto, and she kind of got down after that and only had one more match after the tryout. Maybe two more matches. Actually, two more matches. Both against Jessica Black, who defeated her for the title. Then Lufisto took the title. But she has so much potential, and I hope when Great North Wrestling comes back, she can be convinced to return, because I really considered her my pet project, and I'm so proud at how many hits she gets, and I don't think she realizes how impressive the amount of hits she has is for someone with her experience. And like, I have her first match ever in Great North Wrestling, and we have most of her career. So I don't know. how I got onto that. Why I got onto that tirade, because I think she was 22 when she quit. So she might be 24 or 25 now. And I'm seeing like AEW's letting go of these girls that are in their 40s or near 40. WWE doesn't like older girls. It's like, you don't want to take a break. It's lockdown now, so it's okay. But if I were Yasmin, I would not take a break in her prime years from wrestling. I don't know who advised her on that, but this is where she should really be pushing. She's already a star on my channel. I believe she has potential, but whatever. The Dynamite TV tapings last week had 1,600 fans with 1,300 paid. Another wrestling news, Tony Batman Mariano, babyface from the 60s and 70s, I'm not laughing at that, passed away on May 28th at the age of 90. What I'm laughing at is because the only thing that really pops a rating now for WWE Raw or SmackDown is where they do those old school nights and bring in the old guys. And in the 2000s and 20s, that's the equivalent of having like a wrestler from the 60s or wrestlers from the 60s come in the 90s and pop a rating during the Attitude Era. It never would have happened. So this just made me think of that. Like, this is the state of wrestling right now. They need to bring in stars from the 80s and 90s to pop a rating. It's just so weird. The latest celebrity boxing match is going to be Jake Paul against Tyrone Woodley, possibly on August 28th. Of course, Floyd Mayweather versus his brother Logan Paul is going to be June the 6th. So this Sunday, I guess, from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Out of 65,455 possible seats, there's only about 8,000 left. So for people wondering why Logan Paul gets all these opportunities, he's a draw. He's a draw. Tito Ortiz, as I already reported, has resigned from City Council of Huntington Beach to the delight of Tank Abbott, where his wife confirmed that he found that great. I did do an interview with Tito Ortiz, and I have to tell you, although I like him, it was the most expensive interview I ever paid for anybody, and it only got about 5,000 hits. So I do like Tito Ortiz. Sorry, Tank. I like you too. I actually consider Tank a friend, though, and his wife a friend. Tito, I do think he's a great fighter and good on the mic. So I really have nothing against Tito. And I'm sorry he had that experience. He had a WWE tryout, and I don't know what happened. I guess he never got signed out of it. My God, there's 95 fan comments. I'm not going to get into all of these. I don't know how some of you guys like Colonel Quayle seem to be on every news update I do or live, no matter what time of day, whether it's 7 in the morning or 3 in the morning. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, by the way, last week I got my weeks mixed up. It's Dave Sullivan tonight from WCW, the alleged brother of Kevin Sullivan. And tomorrow it's The Goon. And yeah, those will be for members only as a appreciation to my channel members live. But I will post them later on YouTube for everyone. It's just a thank you. to the people that help me pay for these interviews, because most of them are paid. So I really appreciate everyone that's a member or a Patreon, patreon.com/thehannibaltv. I'll post it on there first. Nikki agreed that the Saudi match was terrible between Strowman and Tyson Fury. Now, keep in mind, you can say it's because he doesn't have experience, but Bad Bunny, I didn't see the match, but supposedly he had a good match at WrestleMania. Ronda Rousey had a good match. And I love, like, I can't say I actually watch much of his boxing. Because when I watch boxing or fighting, I like to watch people that can help me become a better fighter. And he's so big, it's not going to be a style that's going to work for me. But I do admire him and think he's a great boxer with great accomplishments. But as a wrestler, he was terrible. And for the pre-fight promotion, if you guys want to see one of the worst press conferences of all time, the most boring wrestling press conferences at all time, look up the Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman one for Saudi Arabia. It is brutal. And here's the funny thing. The Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder one that happened either just before or just after that, I forget the timeline, someone's going to tell me, was full of action and much more entertaining. Greatly more entertaining. So please, this is what's wrong with wrestling. Why is the press conference for the real sport way more theatrical and entertaining than the WWE one, which is plain and boring? This is what's wrong with wrestling. It's a work, and you're making it as boring as possible. Are you making it boring because you don't want to make it seem like a work? When in reality, like, some of the greatest fighters of all time are great at creating hype during press conferences. So, and by the way, I will point out something else. The press conference I had with Terry Funk back all the way in 2010, before I wrestled Kevin Nash, where Terry Funk was the guest referee. We sold 500 tickets more between the press conference and the show. That's how effective our press conference fight was. It made the local news that night, made the front page of the paper the next day, and the YouTube video of it, the original one, had like, and this was, keep in mind, 2010, YouTube was smaller, had like 15,000 hits in a day. And it wasn't even on my channel. It was on some Thunder Bay channel. But I just wanted to bring that up because someone pointed out, they sent me a press conference clip of John Cena versus Kane, which was at another Middle Eastern place where I think Cena gets put through a table, or Kane, I forget. But it was really, really, really lame and fake looking. And this person sent me that and said, why are they in the WWE and not you? You're way more entertaining. Now, I'm not saying I'm better than those guys. It was just the press conference. I have respect. As far as what I'd rather watch, I would rather watch me as I hold up one of my massagers. Thank you, Recover Fund, for giving me this. Yeah, I'm just saying my press conference was way better. It was also better than Fury versus Braun Strowman, but I never made over $1 million a year. But you know why I think some of the wrestlers that pay dues become better wrestlers, or the ones that actually had to draw to make money? Like the thing with Terry, my money was on the line, so we had to make it as real as possible. We knew we had to draw money. When you're paid to train and you're always getting a check, you never have to worry about drawing money because the money is always there. Wonder where Samoa Joe will end up. My former tag team partner, Nick, probably AEW. Although I don't see Samoa Joe wanting to go on the independent circuit, but I could easily see him asking for 5,000 a night on the indies and getting it easily. Yes, Ivan, we reported when the no compete clause. The dog is sleeping, Mike, but I'll bring her up for you. There you go. DJ says Dickie's barbecue is pricey. I don't even remember what the cost was. Dominic says the talent they're pushing is not working. Well, yeah, we can see that from the low ratings. By the way, apparently Roman Reigns and Randy Orton and others, like probably Undertaker and Cena, like they have rules in their contract where they can't be released, for the people wondering how WWE is able to get out of these quote unquote contracts. What about says Warrior was great on YouTube? I'll bring up one other thing. Says what about brings up Warrior's YouTube videos, which I love. Jim Cornette is on there acting like he would. Why would Ultimate Warrior be a motivational speaker? What a terrible idea. He'd be a horrible motivational speaker. I can tell you, he'll motivate me. If I want to get some motivation before working out, I'll listen to one of his motivational speeches for sure. So to allege he's not a good motivator is just really sad, because he's a great motivator, 100%. And the other funny thing was, it's like Cornette then puts over his speaking ability at the WWE Hall of Fame. I hate how they act like he had to go in the WWE Hall of Fame, come back to his family, come back home. It's like, but they put over his speech in the Hall of Fame. Like he finally, after never being able to give a good speech or good promo, he finally gave a good speech at the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he put over your friends? Like, give me a break. He's one of the greatest promo people of all time. What about brings up Jake Roberts, want to be tough guy? The only fight I've ever heard of Jake Roberts being in is the one in Bret Hart's book, where he said he basically was on his knees begging someone outside a bar not to hit him. And as I said, I got nothing against him, but I found and there's a lot of stories on these Dark Side of the Rings that are presented as fact and are not. And they're in it to make a show or whatever. I just find it funny. Some people will just make up total lies and speak like they're fact. James Parker, hope everyone is doing well. Mike says Papa Shango was bizarre. I did tell The Godfather that Papa Shango was my favorite character. The Godfather is obviously his. But I've said this a million times. When he came back as Kama, I was so disappointed because there had been rumors in the newspaper weekly article that told some behind-the-scenes stuff of WWE that I would read, that Papa Shango would be back. And I was like, I think Kama was his weakest character by far. And then he feuded with, maybe they didn't want Papa Shango to feud with The Undertaker because he already had matches. So they wanted to create Kama versus The Undertaker. But I think Papa Shango would have been better. Or maybe because Papa Shango had jobbed people like Warrior and Bret Hart, they wanted more of a fresh character. I don't know. But I really liked Papa Shango. High spots can be overrated. Yeah. I do not like high spots. I really don't. Not as a wrestler or as a fan. I just like to go out and fight. I'm sorry. Maybe that's why I had to retire. My last match was against PCO. I beat him in May 2018. And he is tough, 100%. But Matthew says Lady Yasmin rules. Well, I'm not going to bother trying too hard because we're still on lockdown here. But I will try to bring her back because I listen to the fans. I know there's a certain company where on this company's YouTube channel, the Blood Hunter is by far the most popular wrestler that they had, but they didn't want to listen to the fans. Trey says, what's up, Hannibal? Hannibal for president. I would never want to do that. DC says, damn, I'm high. Well, maybe I'll try and get to the next level. Over the Edge Broadcasting, her Papa Shango gimmick was dropped due to the fact that the wrestler hated it. Who knows? But it was over for me. I liked it. Matthew's laughing at something. We are on Facebook. I stream this and most of my streams on Facebook at the Hannibal TV, by the way. Twitter, if you message us at the Hannibal TV Twitter, we will follow you back if you DM us. Instagram, there's the Hannibal TV Instagram. There is a merchandise site where you can get this very comfortable, actually, Hannibal 420 sweater, as well as other merchandise, such as the Blood Hunters new shirt and the Blood Hunters and Blazes new shirt and a lot of other stuff. And I really appreciate everyone's support. We're growing very fast again. Now that I'm back in Canada, we're growing real fast. By the way, there's a new Blood Hunter shirt. And Fly Guy says the Blood Hunter is the best wrestler on the indie scene. He's the only one that he follows. He's the only one I follow, too, to be honest with you. He's the only one I'm interested in right now.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow.